I'm Sadie Fitzpatrick, columnist with the Ocala Gazette, and I'm here today with Jay Musleh, who's running for the District 3 seat for the Ocala City Council. And the runoff elections are November 16th?
November 16th, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're just going to ask you a few questions, have a conversation today. First off, what is your current role at South State Bank, and how long have you been there?
Yeah. I am a credit administrator for South State Bank, which means I approve larger loans, mostly commercial loans,
Okay.
For the market of Jacksonville and the market of Gainesville.
Okay, so nothing in Ocala?
No, I was in Ocala for a long time, and then we had a couple people retire, and we had to reshuffle the deck. Jacksonville's a pretty big market up there, and they asked me to take that one on, and took away the Ocala market, which was a little bit smaller for us.
Got it.
So it's a lot of responsibility. I've been with South State, I count my entire tenure with Gateway,
Right.
Center State, and South State, which would be since 2005 or 16 plus years.
Wow. Okay, what did you do before that?
I was the chief credit officer for Gateway Bank.
Okay.
So I was responsible for all the credit functions within the bank as well as the loan operations department, and I oversaw IT.
How many people did you have that you oversaw?
Oh, I probably had about 20.
Oh, wow. On a daily basis? That
Yes,
you
yeah.
had to follow up with?
Yeah, I had department managers that, helped
Right.
run things for me.
Right.
But, Gateway was an interesting experience because that was a startup. We started it up from scratch.
Yeah.
With just a set of board of directors, both out of Daytona and out of Ocala, and then our third Gateway Bank was out of Sarasota. But I participated very heavily in the Daytona and Ocala startups.
Wow. Have you always been involved in banking?
Yes, 43 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about doing anything else, or that's what you wanted to do?
No, I thought I'd be a lawyer while I was in college, and then I thought about IT, and then finally settled on business and banking as a degree, and then in my final semester of college, I interviewed with Doug Oswald down here at Sun Bank South.
Okay.
Not SunTrust, Sun Bank.
Okay.
And Doug hired me as their first management trainee.
Oh. And then that was
That
the
was
start
1978,
of your...
yeah.
Okay, and the start of your history with banking. Awesome. What's the largest budget you've ever worked with?
Well, I think the largest budget would be the city.
Right.
Which
Okay.
is now approaching $900 million.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Okay.
But our budget with Gateway was quite substantial, but a lot of it included interest expense, which is somewhat out of your control. I mean, you're going to flow with the ebbs and tides of what the markets are doing.
Were you at all nervous to be part of a startup?
No, not at all. I really enjoyed it, and we started up right before the bust back in 2008.
Right.
So we didn't really get a lot of time to absorb a lot of bad loans. We did have some, but then we quickly managed to get in the foxhole and just take care of ourselves and our customers until we emerged from the Great Recession, somewhere around 2012 or so.
Gosh, I can't believe it was right before everything went belly up. Yikes. What are issues or situations you faced in your professional career that benefit you as a city council member currently?
Well, I think it's overseeing a budget, overseeing personnel, strategic planning. At Gateway, we had an annual strategic planning session. Some years we would go off-site and do a day or a day and a half. Other years we would do it up in our boardroom. But it was all geared around strategic planning and what we were looking to accomplish during the next 12 months.
Right, and y'all do that now as city council members?
We do that at City Council. I don't know when they started it, but it was started very on in my career. Matt Brower was actually the city manager at the time.
Right.
And we would do a day session somewhere outside the city.
Got it.
Outside the city offices, let me say
got
that.
it. No, I get that.
Within
that
the city limits.
What is the hardest decision or vote you've had to make during your time on council?
There have been a number of hard decisions. I think one of them that came very early on was the vote to not renew Matt Brower's contract. And, that I thought long and hard about that, but I think we were kind of stuck in quicksand, so to speak, and just getting nowhere. And that, of course, beget John Zobler.
Right.
And I had already talked to John and asked him would he be willing to come back as an interim. And I at the time I thought he was just going to be a fill-in until we had a national search.
Yeah.
And it became apparent very early on, not only to just me but to the rest of council, that he was the perfect fit.
Right.
We discontinued the national search and hired John.
Yeah. What is your favorite, I guess, development that's happened downtown recently? Because I grew up here and went away to school and came back, and downtown Ocala now is not at all what it looked like when I was little. So what is your favorite new addition, I guess?
There's just so many of them. I mean, I think, the Ivy House was just a perfect example of something that came together, and Kirk Boone led that development.
Yeah.
And of course the Ivy House folks moved in from their location on the boulevard to that. And then you have to go back to the relocation of the farmers market from that lot on Silver Springs, which was just...
That was terrible.
It was a great location, but
it just wasn't getting the traffic. Yeah.
To the Shed Row, we called it the Shed Row, which is a perfect location for it now.
For sure.
And it's so well received. Also to the the parking garage, which we were told as a council you can't build it. It's going to be too expensive. We brought it in at budget and under the initial projections. By several $1 million.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. We were told it was going to cost $10 million to build it. I think our total budget for that was $6.5 or $7 million.
Oh.
So, and then, of course, obviously, the Hilton Garden Inn.
Yes. Huge. Never thought there'd be a hotel in downtown Ocala. And the parking garage is I know it got a lot of flack, but it's actually pretty. For a parking garage. For a parking garage,
it's very pretty. We did some aesthetics on that and raised the price of it a little bit.
Right.
But I think we hit a home run on the parking garage.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, there are rumors there's going to be another one. Is that accurate? Or you can't say?
No, I can say. I mean, it's on the horizon.
Okay.
We'll have to figure out. Can it be budgeted properly? Can we afford it?
Right. Got it. What decision are you most proud of from your time on council?
I think the decision to hire John Zobler. Yeah.
Yeah.
That without a doubt, I look back at that and he was the perfect fit. In addition to that, he became a good friend and a confidant, and has made my life while he was city manager much more easier.
Yeah, I'm sure. What do you do in your decision making when you have to make a vote on something that's not your normal, normal thing you have to vote on, but if it's a bigger issue, do you talk to other people about it? How do you?
Yes, I talk to other people about it. I listen to what, the people that have supported me throughout. But then, the day of that important vote, I'll try to disconnect sometime in the afternoon and just focus on, my thoughts. A lot of times I'll run some scenarios by my wife, who's just been an excellent sounding board and a big supporter. And then at council, I try to have my mind's not made up, but at least know where I'm going, because I know that a lot of those important decisions are going to be people there speaking on the issue that night.
Yes. How do you, so if you have colleagues obviously on the city council with you, and if you guys vote in different ways, how is that once you leave chambers? Is it awkward?
It's never been awkward before. No.
It's just easy.
It's easy. Yeah. I mean, I have to recognize, and I think my colleagues have to recognize, and we do, that sometimes we have differences of opinion. Okay. Right. But that's what our democracy is all about. It's about people having a difference of opinion, trying to work things out, and then, there's a vote, and 3 wins, 2 loses.
Right.
Sometimes it's a 3-2, sometimes it's 4-1. But we have a lot of 5-0 votes.
Right.
On our council.
All agree. Yeah. Well, good. Serving on city council demonstrates a commitment to your community and being of service to others. What philanthropic organizations are you involved in?
Kiwanis Club, so for over 30 years. And that's the one that we do the pancake breakfast in December, the day of the Christmas parade. We actually have a camp that we on leased land from the U.S. Department of Forestry, and we built barracks, an eating hall, a meeting hall, and they put on camp there 6 weeks in the summer every year, and we sponsor 100 underprivileged children to go to that camp. That's where most of the money is raised at the Pancake Day.
Breakfast it goes to those kids.
I've been a past president of that. I've been a past board of director member, and I've been a past camp trustee.
Cool. So that's your number one organization.
Yes, that is my number one organization.
Good for you. Yeah. 30 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Well, good. What do you hope, if you're elected, what do you hope to tackle once you're on city council again and kind of talking agenda-wise? What do you want to see, I guess, either development-wise or socially? What do you want to accomplish?
Well, I want to see us continue to move forward as a city, all 4 quadrants, all together. We obviously have a huge issue in front of us to tackle, which is the fire user fee, which was ruled unconstitutional, and we've been ordered to repay all
$80 million,
which is all the funds collected over the last 14 years. I was not on council when that was enacted.
Right.
And it was enacted twice, because it was enacted back in 6, repealed sometime in 2009 or 10, and then reinstated shortly thereafter.
Right.
And then, of course, we had a class action lawsuit filed against us in 2014.
Right.
Hindsight being 2020, you would always go back and
not
do it. Okay.
Right.
We did get in addition to our own inside counsel offering us his opinion on the validity of it, we actually got an opinion from outside counsel for a second opinion. And the opinion is we think this is a valid user fee, but like any opinion, there's always the but in it.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
There's an out.
Yes.
Council passed it back then. We never really had an issue on it. I think there may have been 1 or 2 people that would periodically come up and say, we don't think this is a valid user fee. We think this is an unconstitutional tax. And that would be the extent of it. Nothing until we had the class action lawsuit filed against us.
Right.
Which we won 3 times in the lower court level. 3 times we were reversed at the 5th DCA. And finally, the last time, it was remanded back to the lower courts to do a common fund. Our first hearing with Judge Hodges on the common fund led me to believe from his comments that he would be open to some type of set-off for what we had, because every dime collected went to pay for firefighting services.
Right. Okay.
Every dime. It paid for approximately half of what it takes to run the department.
Okay.
So therefore, when you take $80 million and you give it back, okay, there's not $80 million that was collected that's sitting out there.
Right.
We have to go into our other reserves, our other capital funds. There'll be some capital projects that have to get put on hold, and we'll have to decide what capital projects we can have to live without for the next 2, 3, or 4 years.
Wow.
The fire assessment simply replaced what we were collecting annually in the fire user fee.
Right.
That doesn't help with the $80 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So to keep our reserves where they need to be for our bond rating and to keep the city on solid finances, we're going to have to look at ways to increase revenues to replace that.
What do you think those will be?
I mean, I don't see any other avenue other than at some point in time in the future an ad valorem tax on it.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with everybody.
No, that's good. Transparency is good.
Yeah, there's no big pot out there that you're going to go to and collect it, because we don't have $80 million in cash that we could all funnel out. We've got money in our in some of our rainy day funds, some of our reserve accounts, and also in our rate stabilization fund. But that rate stabilization fund was meant to keep electric rates stable and not spike when you would have energy increases.
Right.
So and we're going to have probably to use some of that. I've not been told yet where all the funds are coming for. And then we're going to have borrowed funds. We're going to have to borrow money.
Thanks. Sounds like a nightmare.
It wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, this was an entirely unforeseen as far as the $80 million verdict
Judgment,
went.
yeah.
I mean, that was not anticipated. We got no advance warning on that. And again, like I said, Judge Hodges did kind of hint that there would be some type of compromise on that. And then there was a complete reversal.
Interesting. Well, thanks. In the initial election, some candidates resorted to attack ads and mudslinging. You did not. Why did you choose to take the high road?
Well, I do not like negative ads, unless you're just clearly pointing out something that the other candidate has done or is in their past. Okay, right. And the negative ads that were laid on Mr. Molliver and myself were largely a bunch of half truths.
Right.
And there's an old adage that don't believe a half truth because you don't know which half is the truth.
Right.
And one of them, for instance, was, Musleh has raised taxes for 6 years, and you have to go back. Okay, is it a truth? Is it a half truth? I would call it a half truth. Yes, taxes have gone up. Okay, because your property values went up.
Right.
The millage rate has remained constant for the past 6 years. The millage rate is the rate that calculates your actual tax bill for you.
Right.
It would be just like on your income tax if the standard rate was 15% and that standard rate has stayed the same, but you're paying more taxes, well, you're making more money.
Right. Interesting. So that was a half truth.
Yeah. And there were
Yeah. Are there other ones you want
there's
to
other half truths in there, and I started to bring the ad today so I could remember them, but there was just a lot of them that were so far from an actual truth that it's hard to believe that it was put on print. And then the real rub for me is the gentleman making up the ad and actually putting the ad out there was none other than Justin Grabel, our council president.
Right.
Who had voted on many of these same things. They were labeling myself on as passing that were not good.
Right.
I think one of them was that they threw the city manager thing out there, and it was like that was never under my control.
Right.
Justin and Matt Wardell are the ones that made the motion and seconded the motion to terminate her contract.
Right.
And again, her action was completely within her responsibility of job of duty, which was when she terminated the fire chief.
Fire chief, correct.
Yes.
There's been talk that perhaps the police department should be under city council and not just the mayor. Is that something that you guys would, and I guess fire chief, that you guys would, is that something you guys would look into, of having more oversight of those departments?
Well, I think, let's take the police department for the first. That currently right now, the mayor nominates the
police chief.
The police chief.
Right.
City council sets their budget, okay? And we set their budget between dialogue between the police chief and council.
Right, and y'all.
Yeah, and we agree on a budget, and it's proposed, and it's submitted.
Right.
And all during my time on council, I've had a very good relationship with both Greg Graham and now Chief Balkin.
Right.
Okay. And when they asked for something, we always tried and most times delivered on what they needed to perform their job duties. So I think council has a lot of input into how the police department is run.
Right.
Okay.
Just it's not official on paper that
Correct.
you oversee them.
Correct. But, we can terminate the police chief if the mayor doesn't. And of course, when Greg had his problems, the police chief, or the mayor refused to suspend him. Council did suspend him. I was the one that voted not to suspend him.
Right.
Okay, so it was a 4-1 council vote to suspend him with pay pending the outcome of the investigation.
Got it.
So that's the police department. The fire department, I think I heard in there you wondered if maybe the fire department would be better served also being under the mayor.
Yes.
And I totally disagree with that.
Okay.
I think the fire department is where it needs to be. Again, that would require a charter change if we were to put that under. along with, if we were to take the police department away from the mayor and put it straight under council, that would require charter change too.
Right.
Judging from all the elections I've seen on charter changes over the last 8 years, I don't think that's likely to succeed.
Yes, that's hard.
Yes.
To get something charter change. I did the gender.
Yeah, and the general, which I thought was very benign, only passed on a 57 to 43% vote.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy. What is your vision for the future of Ocala? What do you hope Ocala becomes known for, or more known for?
Yeah, I think continue to, a vibrant downtown, great park and recs department, arts. If you think about it, I mean, just between the Marion Theater and the Riley, we've got two jewels right there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Our annual Fall FAFO show is one of the best shows in Central Florida.
Agreed.
So, just those type things, along with fairness for all citizens, continued excellent services, which would be water, sewer, electric, roads, and of course public safety.
Right. Good. I like that. I do have to ask you questions. So social media is alive and well, and obviously in the election. Occasionally, I don't know if you read anything on the Marion County political forums.
Oh yeah.
They're quite humorous to read. Occasionally you have developed a nickname. I don't know if you've seen it, but sometimes they call you Flip Flop Jay.
Really?
When you've made, I guess, when they thought you would vote one way and you've changed your vote at later times. Mm-hmm. What makes you, if you vote on something initially, what then makes you change your mind later? So if you said no, but then you say yes, a different, I guess that's where they're getting the flip-flop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the flip-flop Jay came from. I mean, our mayor was king of the flip-flops for a number of years, okay? Right. I think there were some people that maybe misinterpreted some of my comments, particularly on the city manager issue. Right. I think there were some people that thought I was going to that meeting to terminate her contract.
And you stick by that decision that you didn't?
I did not terminate her contract. Right. But to me, that wasn't a flip-flop. I've never got to the meeting and announced one and then changed.
Right.
Okay. What basically happened in that is, I started getting initially I got a bunch of phone calls calling for her termination.
Right.
By the end of it, I was getting more phone calls saying that I needed to stay the course, and that there were certain things, and I was told a few things too that were going on in the background. Right. That gave me pause for concern, and so I did not vote to terminate her contract. But I never told anybody I was going to terminate her contract.
Was that difficult to, again, you said it doesn't get awkward after you leave chambers, but was it awkward at the time when people were bringing that up? Considering the city manager was right there.
Well, that was an awkward meeting. Yes, yeah. It was a very awkward meeting. And I've since had the chance to talk to Matt Wardell about it. Right. Okay, and he agrees it was awkward. I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I won't say how he feels now. Right. That's up to him to come out and say, but. I think we all would agree it was awkward, but unfortunately, none of us I didn't want that to happen, okay? We showed up at the meeting and we had them lined up, okay, to speak, both pro Sandra and against Sandra, both pro Shane and against Shane. So, and there were a number of people that it pained to take sides, right? Okay, that got up and spoke. So that wasn't something that, I wanted to have happen in an open meeting. Right. And I don't think the rest of the council really wanted that. Well, maybe there may have been one or two that wanted that to happen. But it happened. But again, that was something that, you have to take public comment. You have to let people speak. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good for you. Well, what has made you want to run again? Could you just say it's been a good run?
I could have.
Hang it up.
I could have. But I mean, I felt like my services were still needed at the city. I felt like the experience that I'd gotten over the last, it'll be 9.5 years by the end of my term, needed to be continued to be used. Because I knew we were we were having a new council member come in with Justin announcing that he wasn't going to run again.
Right.
And by that time, I realized that Matt Wardell was going to back away from his seat. So you got 2 new council members, and I felt like I needed to continue to be there. And I was asked by a number of people to consider running for a 3rd term.
What do you think you bring to the council that they need?
I think I bring leadership. I think I bring a sense of history of our city and the way we've led and what we've done, and I think I bring a sense of commitment. Okay, if you look at my campaign signs, it says a commitment to Ocala.
Right.
Okay, and that is my commitment. It's where I was born and raised. It's where I'm gonna live out my life, and it's where my children and children's children are.
I love that. Well, what do you think Ocala can do better? God, you're talking so much. Sorry, Jay.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I think Ocala can do many things better. If you ever think you're at your best, then you're stagnant and you're going to start going down. Okay.
Very true.
So I think we can try to be better as a more tolerant community, as a more outgoing, community. We can strive for our services always to be more affordable and hitting 100% target rates for completion. Right. and success.
As far as Ocala goes, as far as it's growing, do you want it to be like an Orlando or a Tampa, or do you want it to stay? I mean, I think it's huge now, way bigger than it was when I was little.
Oh yeah, it's way bigger than when I was little. I mean, to me, when I grew up, I grew on what was called Harris Road, which is now 18th Avenue.
Oh, that's right.
Just south of, just north of 17th Street.
Okay.
17th Street was a 2-lane road. Across 17th Street was a dirt road. And the only thing there was the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Right.
Nothing else was there. It was just a field. So we flew kites in that field. We shot rockets off in that field.
Oh, that's a cool story.
Yeah. So, I mean, but, do I want Ocala to be our Orlando, Tampa? No. And it's not going to be, because we're not going to have the road network like our I-4 and I-75 and the turnpike driving through Orlando and Tampa. Is Ocala going to get bigger? Yes, it is. Our weather in Florida makes it a desirable destination.
Right.
Okay. So people are going to want to relocate. We have had 2 big annexations since I've been on council. One was the Trinity Lane property.
Right.
And then one was the Winding Oaks subdivision further to the west of that. Those are the 2 big ones.
Right.
But you've also had some stuff happen in the county with the Trilogy and Kalita.
Kalisa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that are outside the city limits. They're still impacting the city. The city's population swells a tremendous amount during the day.
Because everyone's coming here to work?
Everyone's coming here to work or shop.
Right. How much does it swell?
We've been told upwards of 100,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, now I don't know if there's a scientific means of quantifying that.
Right.
But you can just tell by looking, if you're, I hold signs on the roads.
Right.
So you can tell people coming in from the feeder roads from the north, south, east, and west that probably don't live in the city, but they're coming into the city to do work or to do business or to shop.
That's crazy. How many do we have in city limits?
We have, there's 55,000. We're 55,000. I think that's up to 60 now, and we have a little bit over 35,000 registered voters.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I didn't realize you were that large.
Well, the county's over 350,000.
I did know that. I think we're the 6th largest county by land mass in the state of Florida.
Oh yeah.
If I
our county size is bigger than the state of Rhode Island.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
and all the Ocala National Forest.
Right, and you look at the job that then Sheriff Woods has to do in managing
yes.
public safety and law enforcement for a county this size. It's a huge
job.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or tell us?
No, it's been my pleasure to be on City Council for the past 8 years. I've enjoyed it. I feel like I've given everybody everything I've got, and then some. I want to continue because I think that's what's best for Ocala.
Great. Well, thank you, Jay. Best of luck on November 16th.
Thank you.